This week on Today's Homeowner, we're talking with homeowners who face some unique physical challenges
I found myself paralyzed.
and looking at ways to overcome them by creating a home without limits. Everybody loves their home, and we all enjoy improving our homes to make them a little more attractive and a little more functional. But you know, sometimes things happen in our life, whether it's illness or an accident or just getting a little older, that may limit our accessibility in and around our home. This week, we're looking at what's involved in making a home without limits. Phil Garner, a home builder, has recently found himself with some of those limitations. About 18 months ago, he was paralyzed by a rare neurological disorder called Devick's disease. Well, Phil, it's a great-looking house. How long you been in here?
About 4 years.
All right.
Yeah.
And I understand you were in a situation that you had to build it fairly quickly.
We did. We had sold a home, and they only gave us about 75 days, so we had to hustle.
Well, I know with the disease that you had and everything, you were a builder. You didn't build this with the intention of spending time in a chair. That's a kind of a unique perspective from the standpoint of, you know, when you're building something and you know you're going to be faced with that, you would have done a few things a little different, I guess.
Absolutely. You know, I certainly would have never imagined I'd find myself in the condition I'm in. 40 years old, life was going great. Mm-hmm. And one night, here with the family, we were putting together a puzzle, and within a couple of hours, I found myself paralyzed. And went to the hospital, and after an extreme number of tests, they said, "Mr. Garner, you're never going to be able to walk again." Oh. I found myself, making adjustments not only to my life but also to my home. Mm-hmm. And that's where I am today. Is trying to retrofit a lot of things in my home, and going back and looking now. There's some things that I would have done differently.
Right.
And,
I'm sure you just never realized the things like doorways. I noticed the doorway behind you there. That's a pretty narrow doorway for anybody.
It is. And I can demonstrate. One of the things is I thought, a doorway that's 32 inches wide should accommodate anyone.
Right, right.
As you can see, it's almost wide enough.
Man.
But, my chair, it kind of nicks it. It's a little tight, and then my elbow, I'm a wide guy, I realize, but one of the things is a 3 foot wide or a 36-inch opening really is necessary.
Yeah.
And, I'd always thought about that in my head, but now as I'm in this condition, I really do realize it.
Phil has removed this door from its hinges to allow access, but a helpful solution for this situation might be the swing-away hinge, which allows the door to move out of the opening as it's opened. Fortunately, you had an open floor plan. I know that's a real important part of it. Big openings here. You've got like a 5-foot cased opening there going into the kitchen and everything.
We knew for resale purposes that we wanted to have the most marketability. Mm-hmm. And we knew that we needed to have an open floor plan.
Mm-hmm. Boy, this is very important. It'd be rough if this was all carpet.
The hard surfaces really do make a difference, Danny. Mm-hmm. I know if I did not have the tile and the hardwood, it would be impossible to navigate.
One of the key things that when we're doing renovations for someone that is in a wheelchair, the bathroom, that's a lot of work involved in the bathroom.
It really is. One of the things that you don't think about is hygiene. I mean, right. One of the things, but that's something that's a daily issue.
But I'll tell you what, you had all the space to work with. Boy, that's a change in terms of a lot of the bathrooms that we've dealt with, because the traditional bathroom hardly has enough room to get in, certainly not enough room to back to a toilet, and certainly not a shower like that.
Right. We have a separate shower and bathtub, which, when I got home, I realized quickly that, of course, I didn't want to get in the bathtub, and I really couldn't accommodate with a bench getting into the bathtub. I needed a shower. And with my shower, I had a 4-inch curb that you had to step over and get into the shower.
Oh, yeah.
So we had to, couldn't get into there. As you see, we have a chair, and that chair just rolls in there. A dedicated shower chair can solve a lot of issues for people with limitations, but another great option is the walk-in tub, which allows easier access from the side. And then I guess you had to modify
add the handheld and so forth. There's a lot of this available these days. It certainly looks residential. It's not an institutional looking type of faucet or anything.
That's right. It has a valve on the bottom, so my family can use the upper shower head. And then when I get in there, of course, I just shift the valve over and I use the handheld.
Now, what about accessibility to the vanities and everything? I mean, you have pretty good mobility in terms of your arms and so forth. So I guess it would help to have a little bit of modification there, huh?
Well, some countertops are built more kitchen height.
Fortunately for Phil, his bath vanity was already at a workable height.
My wife and I neither are actually very tall.
Right.
So we built ours down to 36-inch height.
Oh, that's good.
So some people who may have a higher counter may need to lower theirs to 36 rather than the 42.
While I continue visiting with Phil, Joe has an accessible, simple solution.
Whether or not you're planning on doing your own plumbing projects, every homeowner should know where the shutoff valves are under the sink. In this case, we have a kitchen sink, which is pretty typical. It's full of clutter, and the valves are buried in the back. Now, in this case, they're really inaccessible because the garbage disposer is blocking one valve and the trap is blocking the other one. But all you need to do to make it easier to turn the valves on and off is make a tool out of a length of PVC pipe. This is 1¼ inch diameter, schedule 40 PVC pipe, and on one end, I cut a notch using a jigsaw. This is about 1 inch wide, and it's just the right size to fit over the valve handle. So you just slip it over the valve handle, and now from right outside the cabinet, you can very easily shut the valve off or open it up. And if you cut the pipe to the right length, you can even store it right inside the cabinet, so it's always there when you need it.
This week, we're getting some perspective on creating a home without limits, and sometimes financial challenges accompany the need for accessibility. So the local construction director for Habitat for Humanity, Josh Shadek, is showing me around a renovation project they recently completed for a wheelchair-bound mother of 4.
When the homeowner picked out the house, we realized that there was only one access that she could use to exit the home. There was a slider that was sitting in here, and due to the budget and the money that we had to work with, we were trying to figure out ways that we could make this house as much handicap accessible for her and stay within our budget. So we took out the slider and we put in the door, and it was a very cost-efficient way of making it to where she has 2 exits and entrance into the house in case there's an emergency.
Yeah, I think someone in a wheelchair has a really hard time with those sliders. You know, having to reach and slide that, and usually has a pretty good size fin on the bottom of it to get over. It just doesn't seem like that would be a good way to go.
It's like rolling over a terrible speed bump.
Yeah, right.
So,
well, that works out great. And the kitchen, I mean, this looks awesome, but I noticed the elevated kick plate right in here, and so y'all decided to go with all new cabinets in here.
we did. One of the things that she was asking for was being able to access the kitchen. She is in a wheelchair, so we want to make something that she can get as close to the counter as possible. We also, it was a tight budget, but we were able to get a dishwasher, so it's easier for her to take care of her own dishes for her family. She does have 4 kids.
Oh boy.
The other thing that we did while we're in the kitchen is we were able to open up the laundry room. Structurally, it didn't pose any threat to take out the door that was here. It was 2.0.
With 4 kids, that place will get a workout.
There you go, absolutely. We also were able to put tile down in the kitchen and the laundry room.
It's really nice, right?
Which is very wheelchair friendly.
And the carpet, you know, I guess you just glued that right down, huh?
It is. It's an indoor-outdoor carpet glued down. We normally use a laminate floor in all of our houses and rehab projects, but with the laminate and wheelchairs, it has a tendency to pop apart the more they move around on it. So we were trying to just do something that when she moves in here, this is going to be good for the life of her home.
And of course, the bathroom is something that's always a challenge for people to figure out exactly the accessibility there, but it seems a bit unusual that this opens to the living area instead of maybe the hallway, but that would be pretty tight over there, wouldn't it?
Danny, I'm glad you brought that up. Originally, the house had a door, and it was a 2.0 door entering the bathroom right here.
I see.
And structurally, it would have been a little bit more because we have ceiling joists and rafters that come into this wall, sitting right on this middle wall.
Okay.
And the other thing was, by adding the door here and making it a 3.0, it's a lot more easier for her to get in and out of the shower. It's a straight shot. We were able to move around. And this is also cost efficient for us. We were able to get the shower in here, move the wall a little bit, and get the toilet positioned over so that the shower would work. And that's a key point when you're trying to make a handicap accessible shower or tub unit.
Absolutely, but I mean, boy, you went all out there in order to lower that down, because a lot of times you'll have a pretty significant curb there, and then the sink works out well. You have accessibility under there, and still, instead of the large handicap type sink, which can really be expensive, using a traditional sink, but just position it a certain way.
That's right, that's right.
What are some of the other things, Josh, that you had to do in order to make this a little more accessible for them?
Well, we were able to open up some of the doorways going into the bedrooms. If you'll notice on the back deck, we were able to continue a ramp from the pre-existing deck out to the driveway, and it stays within the code on the slope, and it's given her, she'll be able to go outside and use it from here on out, hopefully.
The maximum slope for a wheelchair ramp is 1 inch of rise for 12 inches of travel, but the ideal is 1 inch of rise per 16 inches of travel.
We were still leave an access to where they can come off the side of the ramp and access their backyard. So I think that was you try to work on the house for the homeowner's needs, but there's also, this is a family.
Right.
There's one person in a wheelchair, but there's still 5 members of the family. So we try to incorporate everything that the family's going to be able to use in the future of the home.
And I think you set a really good example here too, in being able to do it on a modest budget, but also it doesn't look like a hospital. And a lot of people think of it in an institutional way, but this is very residential friendly. And I really admire the work that you guys are doing in being able to take an existing home like this, and there's a lot of them in the United States right now, and be able to adapt it to someone that's having some physical challenges like this. It's a great job, Josh.
I appreciate it.
As more and more Americans move into their golden years, unfortunately, some of them are starting to feel the physical limitations of age. And also, just as unfortunate as they're maybe not able to feel as safe or move around in their homes as much as they grow older, especially if you're thinking about aging in place and using your bathroom, because that's where a lot of accidents happen. So grab bars are really important, but you don't like those institutionalized looks, and I wouldn't either. So take a look at what Pegasus now offers. You can get different styles, different finishes, and the nice thing is you can get this without sacrificing practicality or safety, because this all creates a nice style. It ties in with a collection of, say, tissue holders, towel racks, robe holders. All of this ties together to create a nice look, but again, provide the safety that you'll need as you grow older.
This week, we're looking into removing the limitations that many homes pose to people who face physical challenges. We've got some great ideas from some of my fellow contractors like Josh Shadek of Habitat for Humanity, who just completed a handicap accessibility renovation.
We're trying to make these houses have no problems for at least 10 years plus, or the life of the home.
And Phil Garner, who was building houses long before he found himself in a wheelchair.
I really didn't want to have a handicap ramp coming into my front door.
Yeah.
Because from the street, I didn't want someone seeing a ramp saying, well, a handicapped person lives there.
Right,
I wanted it to look normal.
But while I'm visiting with Phil, Alan's checking out an entire community that's designed specifically to meet the needs of older people with physical limitations.
It makes it really easy, accessible. Accessible is a key word.
It's operated by Volunteers of America Southeast, and Alan is taking the tour with the group's CEO, Wallace Davis.
Well, even outside though, I mean, here's a great instance here. I mean, how many people would have thought of this?
That's a great.
I love this.
That's a great thing. You can even a person in a wheelchair can participate in a picnic table.
Right. So you got to tell me. I know we talked a little bit about this before, but your whole purpose for this. I mean, you've got a backstory of why this is important to you.
I think it's important to provide particularly opportunities for our elderly to have a place to live that's safe and comfortable and secure and peaceful and enjoyable, and something that's barrier-free. It gives folks a reason to get up and go in the mornings. And if you've got them all hemmed up and blocked in by architectural barriers or by ground that's not level, it doesn't flow, then it's hard for them to maneuver. But when you create a barrier-free kind of setting, then you give them something to get up and go for, and you give them a hope and a reason to live that day.
What I think I'm hearing is a lot of people talk about there's a fear of aging. You're taking away the fear.
We're trying to take away the fear, and removing barriers helps to take away part of that fear.
Even though they're small, door thresholds can be a big barrier for a walker or wheelchair, so the entry doors here are equipped with a zero threshold so the residents can come and go freely. Alan's continuing the tour with one of them to see the details on the inside of these houses.
Well, Phyllis, you've got kind of a unique perspective here in that you've seen life both in and out of a chair.
Right. When I moved in here, I was in a wheelchair, and so I could get it right up under there real well and eat right there because we didn't have a dining room here. And the stove's very low where you can reach it. The cabinets are all low.
Well, I love one of the things about the stove is you've got so many times you have controls in the back.
Right, and they have
up
them
front.
all right there so you can use them, and then all the light switches are low enough.
Right.
You can reach them from a wheelchair.
And I love the fact that you've got, of course, you're using storage now.
Right,
but
yeah.
when you had your chair.
But when I
you
had the
actually-
chair, I didn't have anything under
Right,
there.
you could
so-
slip up here and prep
Right,
work.
that's
with
where that's where I usually eat. Just go right up under there and
Now,
eat.
you mentioned the cabinets, Laura. I don't think this is something that a lot of people may not catch on to right off the bat, but
They
these are considerably lower than
yeah.
they typically would be.
Yeah, they're really low, and you can reach them from a wheelchair. If you're sitting here, you can open them. I've had to do that before, so.
Of course, you've got the larger door openings out here.
Very wide doors, and then in the bathrooms, got all the bars, grab bars.
It's difficult to utilize a grab bar without a wall nearby. But the Super Pole is a modular support system that can be temporarily installed between the floor and ceiling in almost any room.
And then they've got a seat that lets down.
Right.
And
Also,
the toilet seat.
It's higher. Yeah.
Toilet seat's higher, and
It's just these little bitty things like that people.
don't realize in
Yeah,
a handicap
yeah.
apartment. And then you don't have a cabinet under the sink in the bathroom, so your wheelchair goes up under there for you to brush your teeth and put your makeup on, whatever.
The height of mirror placement is another important detail to consider because it needs to offer a good view whether you're in a chair or standing.
Would I be wrong in saying that you are an avid fan of VOA?
Oh, yes. I appreciate them so much because I don't know where I'd be. I've got a son in Pennsylvania and a daughter in Mississippi, and I didn't want to live with either one of them. And so I'm just very proud VOA offers this because it's been wonderful. I've been with them now 6 years.
Antoine asks, I'm putting a grab bar in my parents' ceramic tile shower. Is there an easy way to locate the studs without tearing out the tile?
It is fairly easy to find the wall studs in a wall even behind ceramic tile like this, especially the tile doesn't go quite to the ceiling. You can use a stud finder like this, locate exactly where the stud is, level down, and you'll know exactly where to attach your grab bar into that stud. Now, if your ceramic tile goes all the way to the ceiling, well, you can buy an enhanced stud finder called a deep sensor type that'll go through the density of the ceramic and locate those wall studs. Now, make sure you use a long enough screw so that you're going through the tile and at least 1.5 inches into the wall stud. Now, a lot of times you'll find a stud on one end of the grab bar and not be able to find it on the other end. That's where you need a hollow wall anchor like this to secure the other end of the grab bar. That way, the grab bar will be there for you when you need it. As you can see, creating a home without limits requires some research and planning, but the effort is worthwhile if it makes you or a loved one more at home in your own home. Hey, I realize a lot of the things that we talked about on this week's show are not the kind of things that you want to dwell on doing at your home. But if you're faced with some of the challenges like the folks that we talked with in this week's show, hopefully we've been able to give you some information and inspiration to navigate through any challenge you may face. We'll see you next week here on Today's Homeowner.
I'm gonna have to peek over your shoulder. I can't see it, and I can't tell which way is right or left.